My name is Emma, I'm 28, and at my own engagement party, my sister faked a massive medical emergency to steal the spotlight. Before I tell you how I exposed her 15-year-long lie in front of our entire family, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. It all started before I can even remember. My younger sister, Lily, was born 2 months premature. The first years of her life were a blur of hospital visits, beeping machines, and hushed, anxious conversations. My parents, terrified of losing her, wrapped her in a cocoon of anxiety that never really went away. Even when she grew stronger, healthier, and hit all her milestones, she remained the fragile, porcelain doll of the family. And somewhere along the way, she learned a terrible lesson: being sick got her attention. Her illnesses became a pattern, a script she never deviated from. It was almost scientific. First, the pain would always be on her right side. Second, she would always whimper for our mother first, never our dad. Third, when asked to rate her pain, it was always an 8, 9, or 10. Never a 7. And fourth, the most crucial part, she would miraculously recover in exactly 2 to 3 hours, just long enough to derail whatever important event was happening in my life. My high school graduation? She collapsed with a migraine right as I was about to receive my diploma. My 21st birthday? A sudden, violent stomach flu that required both my parents to rush her home just as my friends arrived. But the worst was Tyler. He was my first real love. Kind, funny, and he saw me, not just Lily's older sister. We were serious. And Lily hated it. One night, Tyler showed up at my door, his face pale and angry. He showed me his phone. There were screenshots of texts, supposedly from me, saying horrible things about Lily. "She's such a burden," one read. "I wish she'd just stay in her room so I can have a life." My blood ran cold. They weren't my words. They weren't even my message bubbles. Lily had created a fake conversation to frame me. I pleaded with Tyler, I showed him my phone, but the damage was done. He couldn't unsee them. He couldn't unsee the picture of a cruel sister he now thought I was. We broke up a week later. The next day, Lily texted me a selfie. She was wearing the Patriots hoodie Tyler had given me for Christmas, a smug little smile on her face. It felt like a punch to the gut. Through all of this, only my Grandma Ruth would sometimes catch my eye from across a room, a silent acknowledgement that I wasn't crazy. It was a small comfort, but it wasn't enough. And I knew, with my wonderful boyfriend Mark getting more serious, she was going to do it again. But this time, I was going to be ready. The party was at Grandma Ruth's house. The air smelled of roasted chicken and freshly baked bread. About 20 of our relatives were there, their laughter echoing through the cozy home. I was a wreck of nerves, but not for the reason you'd think. I knew Mark was going to propose tonight. We'd talked about it, and he was dropping hints all week. It should have been the happiest night of my life, but a cold dread washed over me. I knew Lily wouldn't let me have this one moment. Not this one. So, I made a plan. While everyone was mingling, I slipped into the downstairs bathroom. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady as I propped my phone against the soap dish and hit record. I looked right into the lens. In about 20 minutes, I said, my voice low and clear, my boyfriend Mark is going to propose. When he does, the family will cheer, and just as the applause dies down, my sister Lily will collapse. She will grab her right side. She will whimper for my mother. She will rate her pain as a 9 out of 10. They will want to take her to the hospital, and my engagement party will be over. I took a breath. She's done this my whole life. Tonight, it ends. I stopped the recording and put the phone in my pocket. It felt like a cold, heavy stone. I walked back into the living room, a fake smile plastered on my face. An hour later, it happened. Mark got down on one knee, pulled out a beautiful, simple ring, and asked me to be his wife. I cried, I said yes, and the room erupted in genuine, happy applause. For a few precious seconds, the joy was real. It was mine. And then I saw it. Across the table, through the crowd of smiling faces, I saw my sister's expression begin to shift. The timing was perfect, as always. As the cheers for Mark and me softened, a low whimper cut through the air. Lily. Her face was scrunched up in pain. She slowly slid from her chair onto the floor, her hand clutching her right side. Mom. She gasped, it hurts so bad. Instantly, the entire room's energy shifted from our joy to her drama. My aunt gasped. My uncle started to get up. My mom and dad rushed to her side, their faces etched with familiar panic. What is it, sweetie? Where does it hurt? My mom asked, stroking her hair. It was a scene I had watched 100 times. A play I knew by heart. But this time, there was a new line in the script. In the middle of all that chaos, as my father was suggesting they call an ambulance, Lily looked right at me. And she smirked. It was a tiny, triumphant twitch of her lips that said, I win again. That was it. That was the moment the last of my patience shattered. Even Mark, standing beside me, caught the tail end of it. He frowned, a flicker of confusion in his eyes. He knew something was wrong. My mom started giving orders. Someone get her some water. Dan, grab the car keys, we need to go to the ER. Mark pulled out his phone, his thumb hovering over 911. I placed my hand on his. Wait, I said, my voice dangerously calm. Just watch. I had to shout to be heard over my mom's frantic instructions. Everyone, stop. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at me. My dad looked irritated. Emma, not now. Your sister is in pain. Is she? I asked. I pulled out my own phone. I don't think she is. And I pressed play. I turned the phone so the screen faced my parents. The audio was loud enough for everyone to hear my voice from the video, clear and steady, predicting every single detail of the scene that had just unfolded in front of them. The entire family was frozen. They looked from the video on my tiny screen to Lily, who was still sprawled on the floor, her fake agony now replaced with wide-eyed horror. But I wasn't done. The video was just the beginning. I walked over to my mother, who was kneeling beside Lily, her face a mask of disbelief. I held out my phone, showing her the fake texts Lily had created to break up my relationship with Tyler. Remember these, Mom? Remember how you told me I must have done something to provoke him? Her face went ashen. Then I went to my dad, who was standing stiffly by the fireplace. I put my phone in his hand and played the audio file I'd found on our shared family computer, a recording of Lily bragging to her friend about how easy it was to manipulate them, laughing about how she could get out of anything just by pulling a sickie. My dad listened, and the color drained from his face. He looked like he'd been punched. Cornered by the truth, Lily finally broke. Her performance crumbled into real, ugly sobs. I'm sorry, she wailed, her words muffled by the carpet. I just wanted you to look at me. You all love Emma more. She's perfect. The only time anyone cares about me is when I'm sick. The room was thick with a terrible silence. My mother just stared at her, whispering, 15 years. I've spent 15 years worrying for nothing. I looked at my mother, not with anger, but with a profound sadness. And I've spent 15 years being treated like the cruel, insensitive daughter. I turned to Mark, who looked at me with a new understanding, a fierce loyalty in his eyes. I took his hand. Let's go. As we walked to the door, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I heard Lily's genuine cries, not of fake pain, but of the agony of being truly seen for the first time. As we stepped into the cool night air, my Grandma Ruth followed us out. She didn't say much. She just pressed my forgotten purse into my hands, squeezed my arm, and said, "It was time, sweet girl." It was time. That quiet validation was the only blessing I needed. 8 months later, the air was crisp with the promise of autumn. Mark and I were at Gillette Stadium, surrounded by a roaring sea of Patriots fans. The energy was electric, a world away from the suffocating quiet of my family's home. Mark turned to me, a grin on his face, and handed me a small paper bag. Inside was a brand new Patriots hoodie. My own. Not a hand-me-down, not a ghost from the past. I pulled it on. It felt light. As I stood there, cheering with the crowd, I realized what was different. The constant, low-level anxiety that had been my shadow for years was gone. For the first time in my adult life, I was just there. Enjoying a moment that was completely and totally mine, unburdened by the fear of it being stolen. Later that night, Mark and I walked along the Boston waterfront. The city lights danced on the dark water. He took my hand, and the diamond on my finger caught the light, a small, steady star. I realized that freedom isn't about erasing the past or forgetting the pain. It's about refusing to let it write your future. It's about taking the pen back into your own hand and writing a new story. And my story was just beginning. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I have to ask, have you ever had to deal with a manipulative family member, and how did you handle it? Let me know in the comments below, I'll be reading them. And if my story resonated with you, please give this video a like and subscribe for more. It would mean the world to me.